Hello and welcome to The Conversation. You're with India Post Live, India's first online news conversation web TV. What we're going to discuss today, of course, is one of the key challenges ahead of the new government, and we're going to talk about the railways and what exactly are the challenges ahead for this ministry. Let's have a look at this report. A daunting task lies ahead of Narendra Modi and his railway minister Sadanand Gowda, as the ministry wants the new government to take some harsh measures to put the economy back on track. Apart from the money the railway ministry receives from the government, the ministry wants additional funds of rupees 10,000 to 12,000 crores annually for the next 4 years. This money is needed to complete already sanctioned projects. There are at least 800 projects that are still pending. The money will also go into building 8,000 kilometers of additional rail lines. Rail fares have already been hiked by 14% and freight by 6% with effect from May 20th this year. The internal note prepared by the ministry seeks on making investments on rail infrastructure for healthy returns. And even though officials are hopeful that the government will give them the long rope to go ahead with these projects, but is the new regime ready to do that at the expense of the consumer used to populist measures? And for more on the conversation, I have with me Sanjay Singh, political editor of the First Post, and Dr. Pula Rao, economist and author, to discuss this. We also have a lot of people from various departments of the railways and the organizations joining us. But I'd like to start with Dr. Rao. Dr. Rao, Narendra Modi, he's built that image of a man for development. He's talked about bullet trains and stuff that we've only heard of, but no one has done anything. How far do you think he'll be able to do that?
See, basically, what he has been saying is something of an ideal situation. This is what we should have. Is it feasible? Is it worthwhile? That now that he has started getting in touch with reality, he will find out. Now, the idea of having bullet trains, for example, Japan being the pioneer of it, and now there are these trains in France and certain European countries, it's not entirely feasible for India. Here you have, since independence, pardon the exact figures, maybe 5 to 10,000 kilometers of rail track we have added since independence. And the design of the coaches, the design of the stations, for example, the environment around the stations, the consumer facilities, no changes seen. If you take photographs, there are some changes, they say we modernize this railway station, but generally there's no change visible in keeping with the times. So Narendra Modi might think he will leapfrog, in technology, avoiding the next stage and just go on to bullet trains and hoping that everything will fall. But it's not entirely economically feasible for India. To maintain a bullet train, to maintain these freight corridors is impossible. And I might also digress on this, what you asked. The freight corridors they have been talking about, first they should be freight. Then you have freight corridors. You have industrial corridors, you acquire land, thousands of acres of land, you need industries. So I don't think railways can improve that much. You should have a target to improve something in the short term and introduce the next stage of technology so that things get improved for the customers or the public. Rather than thinking that a few will have a train between Bombay and Delhi in 4 hours, that's their target. It doesn't make sense. That's only one sector. And you can't pour all your money inside in that one.
Coming about the money bit, sir, as Dr. Rao is saying, that a lot of challenges ahead, but Narendra Modi has a clear majority. So is he, do you see him taking these harsh steps as far as, gathering all this money is concerned for the new projects?
See, there are two aspects to it. A, if consumers or passengers are willing to pay for it, the answer is yes. Because it is nobody's case after all, you pay so much of money for the flights. And also there have been several other experiments made vis-a-vis Delhi, Mumbai,
DMIC corridor.
Precisely. And then Modi has been talking about railways in all his campaigns. He has been his chai wala image, taking chai to railway tracks, and मैं chai coaches में बेचता था. I know it better than railway minister. A chai wala on inside a railway compartment would know better than as to somebody sitting in railway ministry. So he has projected himself as somebody who is going to do something for railways, and he knows railways best. Now he has put in Sadanand Gowda out there. As in your opening story, you said whether Sadanand Gowda will take harsh measures, but I don't really believe that before taking harsh measures, there has to be a vision, and who is going to implement that particular vision. Sadanand Gowda, as it is, he was Karnataka Chief Minister, but I don't really see him as somebody who was a development messiah. Though his stint was very short, he is a decent man, and also he is a hard-working and sincere guy. So somebody is going to be there, somebody like Sridharan. He could be inducted as a technocrat in some kind of panel, heading some kind of task force. So I really see railways to be driven by PMO in some form or other. Somebody designated would be there. Of course, Sadanand Gowda would be there as railway minister. He would be doing things. Railway connects India. Railway perhaps is biggest ministry and one ministry which concerns every single individual in this country. It's lifeline. It connects whole lot of people. It connects whole lot of areas. So if he makes an improvement in railways and in roadways, where he has put in Nitin Gadkari, he would be conveying a message. Bullet train, of course, that's a big idea, and that suits one of Modi's big bang ideas, and everything with Modi is big. But railways, certainly, I sincerely believe, or going by the indications that Modi has given, you can see some changes in railways, and he, of course, he would put in somebody, because if at all he has to send a message, railways is the best place to send a message across.
Okay, so I mean this is the golden opportunity for Narendra Modi to strike a chord. We have a lot of people joining us on Google Hangout. We'll go to Dr. Omkarnath Tiwari. He is the president of the Railway Passenger Association in Vadodara. तिवारी जी, हमारी आवाज आ रही है आप तक? I think we've lost. Let's go to Bappa Mukherjee. He joins us from Baltimore in the US. Bappa, go ahead. What are your expectations as far as Railway Ministry is concerned and Narendra Modi performing?
Yeah, I agree with the point that this could really transform India as an investment destination, and I wish. I mean, I hope that Modi is serious when he says that he wants to transform the basic infrastructure of Indian Railways. So, I mean, actually, I went on YouTube and I looked at Modi's speech in front of the India Today conclave, where he said something which caught my attention, where he said, कि भाई पटरी के ऊपर को प्राइवेटाइज कर दो, लेकिन पटरी को आप सरकार के पास रखो. So I think that if that is what he means by transformation, then I think he is not getting it, because I think the patri is the problem, and patri is the problem because I come from UP and I lived in Gorakhpur and for a few years. I was born in Gorakhpur also. I mean, that's the hub of the Northeastern Railway. And if you track the UP Mafia Raj, it's very deeply connected with railway contracting. If railways have to be modernized in India, that has to be broken. I mean, all over the world, big capital-intensive projects tend to become very controversial because there is very huge temptation for graft. Down the line, there is linkages between contractors and politicians down the supply chain. Now, how will Modi, what is Modi's answer to that? Because this is not a question of vision, it's a question of taking a very principled stance on Mafia Raj, which is integral to railways infrastructure development in post-independence India. So I would like some kind of a declaration on that. And I would like the economist on your panel to talk about this, because I'm more interested in this. Like, as I have mentioned, I have appeared on your earlier shows, I'm an AAP sympathizer, and that is the reason why I support AAP, because I think that unless you get this right, India's transformation and development can't go to the next stage. Because when Modi has to talk to his MP from Gorakhpur to know how the local Northeastern Railway has been manipulated by mafia mafiosi in that area, and why they have retarded, infrastructure development. And I don't know whether the brute majority which Modi enjoys gives him the political capital to take on that.
Okay. I'd like to bring in Sanjay Singh on this point, sir. Mafia Raj versus political will. I mean, who do you see winning?
See, if there is a will, and the snapshots that we saw yesterday after that rail accident, and that actually worries any Indian. You have too many guys working it out manually. When that particular accident happened, and after that accident, when the track was being relayed, you see people actually working very hard, sweating it out. And you don't really know as to, it does not inspire any confidence whether a track has actually been laid back to live to certain longevity. So that has to change. That technology has to be there. Of course, this Mafia Raj in railway contracting is used also because that is not much in the public eye. There have been people flourishing. And given the kind of person Modi is, he does not really, I don't think when he starts working, he would really care what local MP out there or in some other part of the country says, because everybody you start doing it, local MPs would come across and or MLAs or others who are actually not your party sympathizers, but people actually with huge clout, money and muscle power. Once you have will, because there is nobody a greater gunda than the Sarkari gunda. In that sense, if the government once decides to go ahead, then it goes ahead. Okay. I would really hope and believe that things should change, because otherwise you are not going to change that. There has to be basic sense of railway security in that sense. So I am generally hopeful that things should change.
Okay, I'll come to Dr. Rao. We've got Sandeep Desai on Skype. He's a part of the Railway Passengers and Consumer Association. देसाई साहब, आप हम लोगों की आवाज़ आ रही है आप तक?
हाँ, आ रही है
जी। आप थोड़ा प्रकाश डालिए कि किस तरह की प्रॉब्लम्स आएंगी नरेंद्र मोदी के सामने, खासकर रेलवेज के ऊपर।
इसमें तो अभी गुजरात की बात करें तो यहाँ एमएसटी को बहुत प्रॉब्लम है। उनको प्रॉपर चैनल नहीं मिले, गाड़ियाँ नहीं है प्रॉपर, और खास करके मॉर्निंग टाइम में ऑफिस आवर्स में बहुत कम गाड़ियाँ हैं। सुबह वलसाड से एक ही गाड़ी निकलती है और वही गाड़ी 12 बजे तक कोई गाड़ी नहीं है। तो एमएसटी को बहुत प्रॉब्लम है। उन लोगों को जाने के लिए बहुत तकलीफ हो रहा है। शाम को कुछ गाड़ियाँ है ज़्यादा, लेकिन सुबह को बहुत प्रॉब्लम है। तो हमारा सजेशन था कि कुछ गाड़ी सूरत अहमदाबाद के बीच में एडिशनल गाड़ी सुबह के टाइम पे हमने रजूआत की हुई है। 5-6 गाड़ियों को अपग्रेडेशन भी दिया हुआ है, लेकिन अभी तक कुछ प्रॉपर हुआ नहीं है कुछ काम।
लेकिन देसाई साहब, आप तो खुद गुजरात से हैं। नरेंद्र मोदी पिछले 13-14 साल से वहाँ पे मुख्यमंत्री रहे हैं। आपको क्या उम्मीद है कि क्या वो वाकई में सिस्टम को बदल पाएंगे?
हाँ जरूर, अगर उसको प्रॉपरली उसको गाइड किया जाए, उसको बार बार बताया जाए, प्रॉपरली उसको रजूआत की जाए उसके सामने, तो हमें पूरा विश्वास है कि वो कुछ तो कर सकते हैं।
ओके, सो
एक दो बार हमने बात किया था, तो तिवारी जी ने बात किया था, भरत सिंह को भी बात किया था।
हाँ।
तो रिस्पांस तो अच्छा मिला था, लेकिन रेलवे मंत्रालय से कुछ अटका हुआ है एक दो जैसे कि सुपर फास्ट ट्रेन में पास अलाउड।
जी।
हाँ, वो ऐसी 2-3 है जो हमारी डिमांड है, वो रेलवे मंत्रालय से अटकी हुई है। तो हमें विश्वास है कि अगर मोदी जी आए अब तो हमें कुछ properly milega.
जी, thank you. Dr. Rao, I mean, he's saying that, I think that's a problem that's everywhere, that, number of trains, especially for people who travel every day. How do you see, him taking on all these challenges?
See, the ideal situation is you have lots of trains for your convenience, but that doesn't happen. Even in the USA, as our friend there from Baltimore will say, they have privatized the railways and the lesser trains also. Now, yes, technology can answer this. You can have gigantic trains, long trains, enormous trains, but then our platforms are not sufficient for those long trains. Very few platforms can take those long trains, more than 22 bogies, 23 bogies. Therefore, the whole thing comes to funding and how it is spent, what are the priorities, how much with the least amount of money, cost effectively, you can get more trains, facilities and safety.
The other point that Sanjay was trying to raise was the fact that if we get someone like a Sridharan in, does that, help him to do that?
It's in the ideal situation, Sridharan can be given a project, but he can't given administration management. A project, yes, he's a great project engineer, and he built the Konkan Railways. You give him a project, but what we require is somebody who's going to manage 1.5 million employees. Sridharan can build a railway train, get it running, but he can't raise the funds for it. He can't raise the manpower. You can't have. The present railway system has a certain amount of labor intensity in it. Sridharan can't change that. Sridharan can build a metro. Sridharan, a person like Sridharan, yes, he will bring relief. But essentially, if they go for large, ambitious programs, my view, they will not see the end of day for this regime. They should divide it very carefully for some immediate relief.
Time bound.
And they should also involve people. You don't take decisions and then say you implement it. I might digress a little more. During the Second World War, despite all the bombing going on every day, the German railways ran, despite all the bombing, till the last day, because they had a certain kind of management. They had, just now our friend has referred to accidents due to track fracture. The government or the railways have not been able to control track fracture. Suddenly the accident happens because the track breaks. They have not been able to control that despite all kinds of gadgetry. They say they have got this, that. And after an accident happens, 2 hours, 3 hours is the time it takes for a relief train to reach the spot. And then they have hours and hours using hands. They don't have equipment. Yeah. So I would suggest, instead of going for glorious things, try to become Japan or become Singapore in the next 5 years. Become a better India. Start targeting it, remove the inefficiencies, economize. Then funds will come and people may readily pay more. As they're paying 5,000, 10,000 rupees for an airline ticket between Bombay and Delhi, they may be ready to pay more.
Okay.
Let's have a little rationality.
Yeah, I think Bappa wants to come in. Yeah, Bappa, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that US has basically given up on building a train infrastructure. I mean, that project is no longer politically feasible here. So I don't think India should look at the US as a model for building train infrastructure. So I wanted to ask the gentleman there that what is the problem? I mean, like if the Japanese want to help in rebuilding the rail infrastructure in India, what is the, like, I'm not an expert in this area. I want to know from you. So if the Japanese, whatever network they have, like if they want to rebuild that in India, what is the problem?
Okay, they want to rebuild it. First condition is they have strings attached. They want to put Japanese trains, Japanese systems, Japanese switching systems, Japanese track. Number one. Number two, it's not free. It is low interest loans. Number three, they fix the cost of the equipment. They say this costs $1 billion and we're giving it to you on a loan for 40 years. So don't argue about the price. The main idea of Japanese assistance has been to keep their industries busy. I have nothing against the Japanese. They do good things. But whenever you have Japanese aid, the condition is you buy Japanese equipment. It is not financial aid. It is aid. We give you trains, we give you a track at our price. Not that here is the money, you buy the best in the world at competitive prices. So the Japanese gifts are something like the Greek gifts. You got to be a little more careful. You just can't take the gifts, you got to pay it back. So that's not viable fully. The technology is good, but not at that price.
Okay. Sanjay, I want to bring you into this, like Mr. Desai was saying that really a lot of expectations are riding high on Narendra Modi and, everyone thinks he's Superman and be able to deliver. But, the kind of infrastructure that is in place for the railways, how effective do you see him, being able to implement the policies that he wants to do?
See, take Rajdhani for instance. Rajdhani is only train which runs on time in India at the moment. But then catering services and other facilities in Rajdhani had gone down. Somebody who traveled Rajdhani recently and is a frequent traveler, he called up and said कि Rajdhani में खाना बड़ा अच्छा मिला. Yesterday he was traveling from Delhi to Patna and suddenly said कि खाना बड़ा अच्छा मिला. ये मोदी का effect है. So this message, if that is the message, and somebody would say Modi का डर है. If government runs through certain kind of a management and certain impression of its own, if Modi is able to carry that message on, besides Rajdhani, there are a whole lot of trains, passenger trains, super fast and other express trains. If trains start running on time, half the problem of this country would be solved in terms of popular expectations. B, if you are able to provide basic facilities, some clean toilets on the platform and inside the railways. I'm not talking about AC first and AC second, but down the line. Some good initiatives have been taken by previous regimes over various decades of time, but then soon as a good railway minister goes, those
things just fall back.
They just fall back. Then you also have to provide certain connectivity to areas, because you are hearing we require this much of train. Popular expectations are huge on railways. Then freight services are other issues, because as I hear, railway ministry had refused to carry coal for generation of power. So that is another area. If Modi starts working there, or if the person designated by Modi starts working there, I think landscape of the country, popular expectation, burden of popular expectation that he carries, if he is able to start with small things, and then mega projects of course will come. People actually don't realize that delivery cannot be made overnight. But once they see that government is sincere and is working in that direction diligently, then they are able to accept that particular thing, even if it takes a longer time span.
Okay. I'd like to bring in Sandeep Desai into this. Desai साहब, यहाँ चर्चा ये हो रही है कि क्या हम नई ट्रेनें लाएं या जो ट्रेनें अभी चल रही हैं इन्हीं को हम टाइम पर पहुँचाएं. आपका क्या मानना है?
सबसे पहले तो टाइम पे पहुँचाने का जरूरी है, क्योंकि टाइम ही सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है. क्योंकि ट्रेन में यहाँ सूरत से अहमदाबाद तक हमारे हम जो ट्रैवल करते हैं उसमें 60 से 70% अप डाउन वाले होते हैं. तो उन लोगों को अभी 1-1.5 महीने से ऐसा हो रहा है कि एक घंटा ट्रेन लेट जा रही है हर जगह पे. तो वो पहले मेंटेन करना चाहिए. जो ट्रेन अभी चालू है उसको पहले प्रॉपरली चलाना चाहिए. उसके बाद में नई ट्रेन 1-2 रिक्वायरमेंट है, बीच में कोई ट्रेन डाल सकते हो तो अच्छा है, लेकिन जो चलती है उसको प्रॉपर चलाना ज्यादा जरूरी है. अगर हो सके तो जो चलती है उस ट्रेन में डब्बा ज्यादा बढ़ा के या कुछ जनरल डब्बे एक्स्ट्रा करके, क्योंकि पैसेंजरों को भी बहुत परेशानी होती है. उन लोगों को भी बैठने की जगह नहीं मिलती, खड़ा रहने की भी जगह भी नहीं है. अहमदाबाद सूरत के बीच में ये पोजीशन है. कोई ट्रेन में 2-3 ट्रेन है, मतलब अहिंसा एक्सप्रेस इसमें एक है जो अहमदाबाद से ऊपर शुरू होती है. अहमदाबाद से खड़े रहने की जगह नहीं मिलती. अहमदाबाद से खड़े की जगह नहीं, और उन लोगों को जनरल डब्बे बढ़ाने की कोई आवश्यकता दिखती नहीं है. इसमें 3-4 ट्रेन ऐसी है, बेंगलोर की ट्रेन कुछ है, जिसमें तो जहाँ से शुरू होती है वहां से खड़े रहने की जगह नहीं मिलती.
अच्छा देसाई साहब, खाने पीने का रेल में आपको क्या लगता है, अभी उसका लेवल ठीक है कि वो इम्प्रूव होना चाहिए?
खाने पीने का तो ट्रेन में तो कुछ मिल जाता है, उसमें ज़्यादा तकलीफ नहीं होती, लेकिन तकलीफ होती है उनको ट्रैवलिंग का है. खाना तो स्टेशन पर भी है, यहाँ सब जगह प्रॉपर्ली हो गया है, उसमें कोई तकलीफ नहीं होती. खाने पीने का कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, लेकिन मेन प्रश्न है उनको ट्रैवलिंग करने के लिए बैठने की जगह का, सामान रखने की जगह भी नहीं मिलती. ये सिचुएशन है. ठीक.
Doctor, I want to ask you this thing. I mean, the manpower issues. I mean, you already have so much of staff in the railways, and you keep hearing these stories of the lackadaisical attitude of the staff. You know, that sort of work culture has to be inculcated. I mean, how much of a problem that will be, you know, when it comes to reforming the railways?
So that will be the main problem. You see, the technical expertise of railways is very high. Those who work very hard. Those who perform outperform others, but those who don't perform at all. Yeah. And there is a high level of technical competence with what they have, and they are very dedicated also. You notice them, some of them, otherwise the railway won't run at all. And there's one small thing I'd like to add. Earlier there used to be a tradition that the railway board chairman or the railway member in the British Viceroy's Council, they had to travel by train most of the time. When did the last railway minister travel by train? I never, they don't take the train. Senior officers are supposed to take the train. Now, periodically, as often as possible. So that kind of new culture if Mr. Modi can bring in, and he gets that kind of inputs, that, you go back to certain traditions, so that even the workers are inspired when they see their senior officers, ministers going by train, coming by train. It is
a travel in saloon. That is a carriage that is attached, and that is more like a 5-star hotel.
They're not even doing that.
But sir, the thing in UP when Kalyan Singh was the chief minister, people would automatically come to government offices on time because he had that sort of a reputation. How much of the reputation, that this government will have to carry to ensure that at least the manpower they have, they work on time?
Precisely. That is one big challenge. The manpower, I think the expertise, and as he was talking about, had there not been a dedicated workforce with various kinds of ministers coming and going, railway would not have performed and ran on time, whatever trains are running on time. Or this gigantic system at least runs and delivers goods to the people. Even in worst of conditions, railway is the best and most reliable kind of carriage in India. So therefore, that is one big challenge which I think new minister will have to inculcate this particular work culture, because once minister is there, of course, leadership inspires. Leadership cannot change everything, but leadership inspires. And once that inspiration comes, then of course things should change.
Okay, we've got Onkar Nath Tiwari joining us from Vadodara. He's the president of the Railway Passengers Association. Tiwari जी, हमारी आवाज आ रही है आप तक?
Yes, बहुत अच्छी आ रही है.
तिवारी जी बताइए, क्या उम्मीदें हैं आपको नई सरकार से?
हमको नई सरकार से बहुत सारी उम्मीदें हैं कि जो नई ट्रेनें हमारी जो वडोदरा से डिमांड है, वडोदरा के यात्रियों के लिए नई गाड़ियां चलाने की, जिससे उत्तर भारत के लिए अभी इस समय बहुत परेशानी है यात्रियों को. साबरमती एक्सप्रेस के जो भीड़ है उसको कम करने के लिए हमने ट्रेन मांगी है, वडोदरा से अयोध्या वाया इलाहाबाद होते हुए. दूसरी अहमदाबाद से चेन्नई के लिए एक ट्रेन मांगी है. दूसरी दिल्ली से बड़ौदा से सीधे दिल्ली रेल सेवा शुरू करने की बहुत पुरानी मांग है, हमारी डिमांड है यहाँ के यात्रियों की.
लेकिन
तो अप डाउन करने पास
तिवारी जी, लेकिन जो हमारे साथ जो लोग जुड़ रहे हैं वो ये कह रहे हैं कि पुरानी ट्रेनें जो है, जो पहले से चल रही हैं, वही टाइम पे चला दें तो बहुत है, क्योंकि प्रोजेक्ट तो बहुत सैंक्शन होते हैं, लेकिन पैसे के अभाव के कारण नई ट्रेनें नहीं चल पाती.
नहीं, ट्रेनें तो काफी बहुत चल गई हैं, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ में पॉपुलेशन भी हमारी बढ़ रही है ना, तो डिमांड भी बहुत है और सप्लाई रेलवे की तरफ से कम है.
अच्छा तिवारी जी, आपसे एक आखिरी सवाल पूछना चाहूंगा, समय थोड़ा कम है. आपको क्या लगता है कि नरेंद्र मोदी जी रेलवे विभाग को जो है तंदुरुस्त कर सकते हैं?
100% हमें बहुत एकदम 110% विश्वास है कि मोदी जी रेलवे को सुधार पाएंगे.
Okay. I think I'd just like to bring in Bappa also. He's been patiently listening to the entire conversation. Bappa, your final words?
Yeah, unfortunately I'm a bit skeptical. I was just looking over, I am a regular reader of First Post. So when the Pawan Bansal scam broke last year, First Post had reported that Railway has one of the highest numbers of officers under investigation. So I would be looking for a signal that if all those vigilance inquiries are brought to a logical conclusion in a speedy way, and there is a message down the line that will not be tolerated, then I would be more more optimistic. But I think that has to be tackled on a war footing. But I'm not very optimistic on that because of the nature of the political content.
Okay, Bappa, thanks so much for joining in the conversation. We hope to see you more often. Dr. Rao, he's a bit skeptical. where do you think, this government will have to strike the balance between economy and keeping, the wishes of the people in mind?
As far as railways are
Yes,
concerned.
yes.
See, let me just draw back a little bit of history. Sun Yat-sen was the first president of China, Republic China, when it was formed. But he resigned and said the most important thing in this country is the railways. So he became Minister of Railways. Can Narendra Modi give that kind of emphasis to railways, which touches everybody, as everyone has said? If he gives that kind of emphasis, he will be able to do something. There are solutions. Solutions are there, right there. Nobody is taking it up.
But sir, the money and all, how will you balance? For money you need to increase freight, right?
No, you can increase freight marginally, reduce it. We have, unfortunately, it's a very touchy subject. There are 15 lakh employees or something in the railways.
Yes.
And they barely carry, if you take away the suburban trains of Bombay, Chennai and other places, they barely carry one passenger to one employee or two passengers to one employee. That's not a ratio which is really viable, and you can pay higher wages eventually. Don't cut down staff, but pay higher wages and don't recruit again. Have a more compact workforce, maybe 8 lakhs, 9 lakhs, something less. But this kind of workforce that you have, you can never do what you want.
Sir,
See, the kind of expectations that you see, one point Bappa was raising about corruption, of course, that issue has to be tackled. That issue, I think, will have to be tackled not just in railways, but in all other spheres. Second thing, the demand that people have and expectations that people have. Railway Minister every year, whosoever is there, announces certain new trains. And some of them actually come on track, some of them don't. The problem out there is you have only one track, tracks have not been laid. Capacity of stations have not been increased. So therefore, that is one very challenging area, and that requires huge investment. Plus, you also have to bring in railway safety measures once you put in these systems in place. Because my friends in railway say they are under tremendous pressure to run these number of trains on existing tracks. So how is that going to start? That is one big question which this new regime will have to address.
Okay, so thanks so much Bappa for joining in the conversation. तिवारी जी और देसाई जी, आप आए हमारे कॉन्वर्सेशन में, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. आगे भी आया करिए. So there you have it from our experts. There is a general feeling that the kind of person that Narendra Modi is, he will be able to drive and inculcate that feeling amongst the people that this is the kind of work that needs to be done. But apart from that, of course, there is an urgent need that he has to prove in one of the projects in the short term to be able to give that confidence to the people that the railways can finally get out of this financial mess. You can also log on to our site indiapostlive.com and of course participate in our conversations, or you can send us your message on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @IndiaPostLive. Conversations will continue on India Post Live. Thank you so much for watching.